Good job.
Right back.
Oh, stuff.
Hello. Yes, season. It is season for XP team. Cannot disagree at all.
How's the sound out there? The crickle crackle here, is it actually okay?
Look, there's a live chat.
Good. How's everybody doing today? Nobody's dead. Good plan. Just sitting around about 7 helmets currently. Just my supply. And I've only fought in like 2 of them. Not all my helmets. There's that one that's clap visor. This big gnarly Jim Jam that I need to attach straps to and add all manner of things. Hola, Austin, Mr. Naps. Helmet. Watch, at some point in time, I'm going to try and walk that way. All helmets are over there. It's a good plan. I make a good plan. Then there's this Russian nasal helmet that's just got foam falling out of it, that's got to get fixed up. Talk about the Dentarinos. They're just a little couple. Yeah, they're just a few. Oh. Tripping hazards all around me. And Exus. Where's the one I wore on Night Fights? Right here. It's already over here. I don't have to do any work. It's right there. Oh. Thing is ridiculous. And it doesn't weigh all that much. It's actually like slightly lighter than most of the other helmets. I think it's just because it's so short in the sides. Like the actual helmet ends here. There's bars that go underneath of it that like are an extra 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Yes, the helmet is famous, and I'm not. Good. I'm glad. Don't let them watch too much. I'm not super cool human. I try to keep it as PG-13 as humanly possible. But I'm ready for this holiday season to get started and then get over with. Because, yay, holidays. It'll be what it is, dealing with everything it is. No. It paints a bigger target on me. That's the generalized idea. Intimidation is whatever. Like, we're all walking into the list to get hit with steel axes. So intimidation, it's more so like making me a priority. They're like, oh, there's the big scary dude. We're going to send 3 guys after him, which is fairly nifty. I kind of like draw aggro, tell people to come at me, and I just kind of stand there and deal with them. And then the rest of my team should have a better time of it. If I'm fighting 2 or 3 guys, they should have either a man up or a 2-man up advantage. They should be immediately taking those other guys to the ground and then coming and helping me. Thank you, Jack. My style is just hit people generally. I try to think a little bit more about like how I go about into the fighting. But once you get past the first punch, it's kind of on your gut feeling at that point in time. And if you're in an extremely violent and aggressive like situation, you're allowed to be that violent and aggressive, then your obvious option is to just amp up the aggression and the violence. And usually rock beats scissors most time. It depends on the kind of scissors, though. If they're hydraulic scissors, really big scissors, not really going to work out for the rock. Will blunt them, though. So, how's everybody's Thanksgiving? Everybody have a good time? Eat your fill? I know I did. I just kept eating things. I love Cecilia, too. No, it's definitely a plan to try and have something going on in Maryland. Either that or Northern Virginia, somewhere in that arena. We were going to have, Meat and Mayhem was going to be happening in Northern Virginia. That kind of fell through just with pandemic and everything. Yeah, the quiet Thanksgiving, I understand that. We were supposed to be fighting 2 weekends from now. The 12th we were supposed to fight down at Meat and Mayhem, but that got shimmied. We're postponing that just because of the rise and spikes and everything else like that. It's kind of nuts. So wow, this really does have complete potato quality, doesn't it? Compared to the camera that I just got, which I have no idea how to use, and I need like SD cards to go in it to like make it be able to do things. This camera's got to go. This is a little stupid webcam and everything else. It's what I've done most of my videos with. I've had a couple where I've used other videos and other cameras and stuff, but and quality is quality as I go along, and as we do more things. Yes, potatoes are good. They do make very good things like au gratin and mashed, and boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Can't argue with that too much. And vodka. Who goes wrong with too much vodka? So, Jack, I have a lamp right nearby. I have a lighting setup that'll actually make it better, but it doesn't really like do better in the picture quality. There's only so much you can do with really good lighting. I'm also a complete amateur at all this, so it's kind of a ridiculous time to try and figure everything out. In cameras, technology, it's a yeah. Like, I've got a rack of hammers behind me. I use hammers a lot. I like hammers. I can't really use a hammer on a computer. They get angry. They get mad about it. Big Tuna, that's just how it is, man. Like, all those guys like have fought me before. That I've fought with them. Like, we've done the ring around the rosy with each other, and they all know not to let me. Like, they all know, like, if I need to have someone taking care of me. If there's not somebody taking care of me, they need to go and take care of me, kind of thing. And so that's the name of the game is take out the most threatening guy in the ring first, and make sure that you beat the crap out of him so he just doesn't want to get up and do it again, which I just kept getting up and doing again and again and again. So that is what it is. What makes a bad helmet, Grant? That's a really good question. What makes a bad helmet in your opinion? Bad breathing, bad visibility. It's like the 2 things you need to do while you're in a helmet, like the most. It's breathe and see stuff. A light helmet is not actually the best thing. You don't want you don't want to wear a 30-pound helmet that's It's silly, but the heavier a helmet is, it actually takes out more of the force that's hitting you, and it doesn't jostle around your noggin nearly as much. Sometimes a helmet can be too hard. If it's too hard and it has like flatter surfaces on the sides and stuff where people can really just dig into you and hit you real good. If you have a really glacial helmet, it can be pretty hard and won't have any major issues just because stuff will glance off of it a lot more. But if you have a really flat helmet and it's really hard, then it will then reverberate more and it'll send more shock into your skull. If you have like being able to have a little bit of dent or two isn't the worst thing in the world just because of denting. Like this Russian helmet. Oh, let's reach back over here, grab my props because I have it. Like this Russian helmet's made out of 3mm mild steel. It's been beat the crap out of. You see these big old dents and stuff, like they are real dents. Like I can't really know. I don't know if I can get really good how I can make you see that better. But you can see it there. Like you can see the divot in the side of it. It's a pretty big helmet. So like this big old dent back here, like they didn't feel any of these. They didn't like they felt the little dash, but that denting actually allows you to like not feel it nearly as well, which is weird. I've never really wanted my helmets to dent. I had my helmet made. My helmet was made by a guy named Ilya. He used to work out of Baltimore Knife and Sword. I don't know where he's working at now. Doesn't make armor anymore. He made like 2 or 3 helmets and a bunch of gauntlets. He made my gauntlets, and my forearms. He's made armor. He's a real artisan guy. Ilya Alexiev, Baltimore Knife and Sword. He doesn't work there anymore. To my knowledge, I haven't really kept up with. I need to get in touch with those guys more and talk with them. But doing all kinds of stuff. But he did artwork with that helmet. It was just silly how pretty it came out, and he did some magic metallurgy stuff. He made that thing amazing, and I don't know how he did it because he just used American 4130. He's just like, I do comic arts and make it amazing. So he does the good stuff. So a bad helmet is breathing visibility, and how if you can shift your head in it, if you can move around, like have good, like I don't like my helmet being like situated. I like being able to turn my head. I want to be able to check corners and stuff. I want to be able to move it without trying to fight it nearly as much. Peripheral vision is a very like important thing that people forget about. They only look at here. I'm like, nah, dude, I want to be here. Like I want to be like out here. I want to know where these guys are. So that's a really big thing as well as peripheral vision and being able to see down. If you just like look down through your eye slots. Oh, you little bastard. A little mouse running in my shop. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna get out the traps. Really big bear traps. So peripheral vision is very good. Being able to look down is very good. You don't think that you're going to want to look down at some point in time, but it is a thing. Good to see you, Austin. Be easy. Check back to the video and I'll answer your question, bud. Sorry. Whenever I split wood, I do the normal motion of split, but also drop my body down, binding my knees to make a certain split would that work in a match. Actually, dropping your body weight, dropping like just dropping your hips into it a little bit more. Like you make the turn, you twist your hips and everything else like that, like you're chopping. Like you're punching somebody, but when you drop your hips at the bottom, you actually drop your weight and your strength of your arms and your shoulders. Like all of that forms into that axe blow. And when you're hitting somebody in the collarbone, you just hear them squeal and you're like, oh, I found a spot, did I? I'm going to do that again. And then you do it again. Hopefully you only have to do it like once or twice and they'll get the knowledge to like sit down. It's kind of the idea is being efficient and being able to knock people down and make them quit faster than everybody else. So that's kind of the idea, like chopping, like splitting wood and everything else like that. Yeah, that's about right. But like the thing's not going to be like at waist height in front of you. It's going to be a dude's shoulder blade that you want to hit like right in that gap and finally catch him. or like in the hip bone or something like that. Get them right where their armor comes together. Usually it has a little bit more room and give because they want to be able to actually move. We all have kind of the same gaps working, hips, ass, tops of the backs of the thigh kind of thing. Those are usually pretty hard to armor. I like putting skirts on, and I like putting like different pieces of armor draping over different sections, just so I'm not able to, like, there's no gap. You have to like hunt for a gap or lift my armor out of the way to then hit me in a gap, which is whenever. So that kind of chopping motion, dropping your hips a little bit at the same time and dropping your whole body weight down also works when you're really close in clinch wise with somebody. If you're really up close and they're trying to grapple with you and everything like that, and you've got your axe up like this, and you can just drop it, and you drop your hips, you drop your shoulders, and you literally just drag it down, you'll hit them right in the chest, right in the collarbone, and it'll be pretty friggin' informative. So it is what it is. Ms. Stormcloak, I wonder how well it would go if wearing a flat helmet and getting hit in the head with an axe. Those grand, I can't even remember the name of those stupid things. Those Templar helmets with the flat tops. So those aren't those aren't amazing. I hate them. Just because they make a good landing pad, but there's enough people that use them. There's a good couple in the leagues floating around, people just getting them. It's not the worst. I mean, that top is not sitting on your head. Like, as I've said in most of my videos about helmets and stuff like that, you actually want your liner to be holding the helmet off of your head by about an inch or like so. And then having foam in between the two so you don't get it all the way down to your head. So that's just kind of a thing. Just keeping it off of your head. It's not the worst thing in the world. It is more of a, I mean, if I've got a guy with a flat helmet just hanging out there, I'm gonna go hit him in that flat part. Like, that's anvil. I'm gonna enjoy it. Usually it's made out of like some serious steel though, so it's there. It's built to deal with that kind of damage, kind of thing. Have I ever been in a non-armor fight from like an argument or something, and so did your armored fighting experience help you? I do not get in fights. People are weird. People are crazy animals. Don't make a civil situation a physical situation. Make it figure it out with your words. Let's be diplomatic. Try and be empathetic. I hope I said that right. Don't be apathetic, because that's not fun. But try and work your way through it before you get involved, and never start the fight, because it'll never go well for you. I've only ever ended fights, and that's primarily been like when I was doing security for bars and stuff like that. I was doing more so of like disarms and like put them on the ground, because everybody, you'll lose. The fighting spirit is lost when you hit the ground at least once or twice, or they get more angry and more scared. And then they're like, "Oh no, I'm a trapped animal. I'm in the corner. I need to go even harder." Sometimes it doesn't work out the best, and they come up even crazier. But then they're not thinking straight, and they're going off of complete animalisticness, and then they make mistakes and they just miss things, and then you just keep them away from you. You never know when somebody can pull a knife. You never know when somebody can really cut you up and get at you. So me being in fights and everything else like that, I've talked down more people than I ever would. And I don't ever suggest anybody getting into a physical altercation unless you're like fooling around with the buds, and then it's an understandable level of violence. I have been in a couple of fights. I have misdirected people. I have used my fighting, like my sword fighting, my axe fighting, whatever. Like, all my armored fighting is based around my physicality as a fighter, and it is all being based off of that very like strong basis that I've made of all of my fighting, which actually was built out of wrestling and football, then boxing. Did some MMA, and then foam fighting, sword fighting, and everything else like that. All of that is just a translation. Like, my fist is here, and I'm adding 2.5 feet onto it, and I've got an extra elbow here. Like, that's all it is. Like, I'm delivering like all of my blows are coming out the same way that I would. And realistically, that's all it is. So going on, Adam. Still trying to find a good helmet. Heel. Helmets. Let's see. Bovertech. Nadler Metal Crafts had helmets. Who else? Age of Craft has helmets. There's tons of helmets out there, and also check around the league in the States here. See what you can find in the way of like used helmets and stuff like that. They're actually not that bad off. Double check, make sure, like, have them go over and take pictures of it. You can't put your hands on it. Tell them to, like, ask them questions about the history of the helmet, where they got it from, what kind of material is it made out of, how many dents are in it, are any cracks in it, that kind of thing. You can find, there you go, Brendan. Ooh, good on you. So you can find stuff for used that are actually not that bad off. People just like go in a different direction about their armor. So that's helmets are all around, man. You just got to keep looking. If you're on the steel fighting pages, like on Facebook and everything else like that, there's tons of things on there. I've done a couple of videos talking about where to get helmets from, where to get armor from. Maybe I'll go through. Helmets seem to be the hardest thing for people to find. I thought the gauntlets would be harder to find, but because there's not a lot of people making like actually halfway decent gauntlets. But don't get finger gauntlets. Don't get finger gauntlets. Don't get finger gauntlets. Get mitten gauntlets, please. Mitten gauntlets for their all. Yeah, don't get finger gauntlets. Finger gauntlets will get your fingers broken. Guys have had their fingers cut off. Just pieces of information. So the Gambison is from a buddy. I can't see the Gambison, but it's okay. Yeah, Baltimore Huns, that was kind of the joke that we were going for at that point in time, and we still find it funny. I still giggle about it all the time. No, I could beat the crap out of somebody if they wanted to tangle with me, but at the same time, I truly don't want to. There's so many different outlets for that. If my life is put on the line, sure shit, I'm gonna deal with them, and if they're trying to get to somebody I love, I'm gonna deal with them even worse. But you don't. You want to be a human about things. You don't want to just be an animal. It's kind of what separates us, guys, is being able to talk and use our words, be diplomatic, and empathize with each other, and be able to understand and work forward from there. So, how well would jiu-jitsu or judo translate into armored fighting? Standing judo is great. I made a comment about this on the last live stream. All of the different moves where you're getting hip control, leg control, head control. That is the big thing about grappling and steel, is head control is a major thing. Being able to put the head in a direction where it changes how their spine is. Like how you have your head here, you can go like that and go forwards and backwards, and then this is the spine. Like if you get the head to go this way, if you get their neck to bend, their body will go with it. If you get them to like turn forward, their body will naturally go with it, just because you've already broken the plane of this spinal column. That's why whenever I say going into your fighting stance, your spine straight, your ass is dipped down and into your hips. You're ready to deal with combat in any which different direction, but your spine is up and down. You don't want to be really leaning forward, because if you lead with your head, they're just going to pull you down. Jiu-jitsu. I don't know much about jiu-jitsu. I know a little bit about judo. I know the basics of doing judo. Gi stuff, kind of like gi grabs and everything like that, kind of works. And like they kind of work, but at the same time, you have to be holding a weapon in one hand. So realistically, you're going for arm holds and stuff like that, and then doing head control to put them over. Manipulating footwork to put one foot in behind another foot, or beside another foot, or in front of another foot. Positioning your foot to be able to get that to then make that the rock that they stumble upon. That's kind of the idea where judo comes in. Oh, I'm going to answer all these questions of random stuff. So judo is actually a great thing for the sport. It's really good. It also makes you work on your stance and having a good base, being able to make footwork work for you, and then setting them up. Like you can get one head hook, you can get like an overhead hook, and you don't have to immediately use it. You could be then like pushing them one way to then go around them another way to then make this overhook now an underhook where you've got them from the side and behind, and then you throw them over your hip even worse, and then they can't grab a hold of you. If you can manipulate your body, like they're standing here, you're squared up with them. If you can manipulate your body where you push them one way and then you immediately go behind them, or you get this 45 side, and then you can just get over top of them and then throw them over. You don't want them to be able to get their hands on you. So you put your hands on them and you throw them over. So it's judo's great. I love judo. It's a lot more fun than people think it is. Do team match when you repeatedly hit that guy in the helmet until you broke it was like what was going through my head? I was punching Micah. I was hitting Micah. I was like, don't let Micah hit me. And that was when we were in single swords. So I wasn't really super worried about Micah when we were in single swords. Just because Micah does not have the best single hand chops. And to be very like I've called him out on it several times. He was on my regional team like every year that we did stuff. I looked at him like, Micah, you're terrible in a grapple. He's like, I know, it's not what I'm here for. I'm like, I know, bud, but you can at least like escape better. He's like, whatever. So like that's kind of how it was. Clap visor helmets. It's going to seem ridiculous, but I'm going to make sure that I'm talking about the right style of helmet before I go talking, because I don't like talking out my ass. I like knowing the information and talking about it right. I know what you're talking about. I'm just making sure that I have the right helmet, because helmets change constantly. Well, they don't change constantly. It's just tons of them. Clap visors. Because I might have one sitting next to me. I think I do. Yeah, pretty stinking close. So realistically, a clap visor helmet, like clap visor. Visor clap. You mean something like this? Is this what you're talking about? Is this where we're at here? A clap visor is a term for, because it does that. Is this the type of helmet that we're asking questions about? Like, I think you made the same. They're not dumb comments. You're hanging out with me like nothing's dumb until like it's ridiculous, and I'll be like, "Why did you ask that?" And that would be about the only thing. What's my opinion on clap visor helmets? They're good helmets. I mean, like they go up and down. They're great. Like you don't have to wrestle the helmet off to get drinks or anything else like that. They're not terrible. This is actually a pretty glacial face that you have here. It's got good breathing holes. It's got okay vision. There are holes underneath of here, as you can see. I was about to say, like, if this thing doesn't have holes. One thing that does break are these hinges. These hinges get the crap beat out of them. And about that's about where it's the standard as most helmets. There's not a whole lot really. So I won't whistle because I realize that might be terrible in the video things. How can people get in touch with their local groups? Is there Facebook groups? Or how can people find information for their local area? So there are several Facebook pages, which I will now go and pull up because I am a ridiculous human. I don't have all this stuff in my brain. It's just not a possibility. So different pages. There's IMCF. Look up the AMCF Armored Combat Sports, ACS. There's American SEAL fighting pages, SEAL fighting in North America. go to those and try and like put out a thing going, hey, looking for people in this state, in this area. Like where are the people at? There's a couple different people floating around that'll point you in a direction. Usually, most of the time, like if you ask somebody in the steel fighting world, like, "Hey, I'm here. How can I do this?" They will usually go to one of those pages or find somebody that knows more people or knows like where everybody lives and be like, "Hey, I got a guy in this area. Where is he?" And they point them in a direction, and we send each other links. That's kind of how we get a hold of each other, and that's kind of how it goes. So that's easier. So there's a couple Facebook pages. North American Bowhurt, Steel Fighting North America, AMCF, ACS. Check out those pages. The ACW has a page. Have you ever used a Warhammer in a night fight before? No. Warhammers are not allowed. Those goofy, stinking, heinous things, which I had one floating around, which actually has a big old pick on the back end of it. They're not good in steel fighting because they'll actually kill us. You are in Battle of Nations or HMB, Historic Medieval Battles. They allow hammerbacks. They allow you to have a hammerhead on the back of the axe, and I'm not talking like it's that big. Like you're allowed to have a hammerhead on the back of it. And I have been hit with a hammerhead, illegal blow. It was handed to him out of the ring because he lost his weapon. They handed it to him backwards, and he just started swinging at me. I don't know how you swing 4 times and not notice that you're swinging with the wrong side of the axe, but that is life. The first hit he hit me with was actually, if you like feel on your shoulder, there's a big bundle of bone where your arm goes in. He hit me directly on that because my shoulder armor had shifted forward. So he hit me straight on the bone with just the gambus and over top of it, and then he started slamming across my shoulders and my neck. And when he hit me in the base of the neck, I was like, I need to sit down because this man's just going to keep hitting me. And I was hearing people going, "Turn the axe around, turn the axe around," and I yelled, "Turn the axe around" at some point in time. So Warhammer's not legal, not a good time. So. Is 16 gauge sturdy enough for gauntlets, or should I go for thicker ones? It depends on the material. 16 gauge is actually like I have 16 gauge on my gauntlets. I'll go get my gauntlets. They're not the best to repair, just because like motivation in life. So sound quality is still pretty good out there. So there are multiple parts to this gauntlet here. So actually, most of these pieces are this is a little bit more complicated. This is 18 gauge. This is 20 gauge. This is 16 gauge. This is 18 gauge. This is 20 gauge. This is 16 gauge. And I do believe that's 18 gauge in there. And my thumb is made completely out of 18 gauge. This is all made out of 4130 spring steel. Ilya made these. They're great gauntlets. It depends on the kind of steel you're getting. If you're getting stainless steels, okay, good. Latency, I don't know what that is. So, pig face bassinet. The long nose piece, are you talking about where it comes out to a point, or are you talking about the nasal? Because I know the pointed faces is a hound skull. Okay, the big pointed thing. Yeah, that's a hound. That's a hound skull or a pig face. So the gauges on gauntlets, 18 gauge. If it's 40, if it's like heat treated steel, stainless steel could probably get away with 18 gauge. I've seen more people use 16 gauge. But that's kind of like 16 gauge is pretty heavy. You don't really want to put a lot of weight on your hands just because you don't want to like then make it. Your legs are going to stay stronger than anything else. Your back's going to stay stronger than your arms. Your arms are going to stay stronger than your wrists. Like putting more weight on your arms is actually going to tire you out more because you're still fighting. You're trying to do the thing. And you're going to get tired of doing that because your arms are so stinking heavy. So
kind of a thought process there, trying to like mitigate as much of the weight on your arms as humanly possible. Hands, make sure they're good gauntlets. Make sure they don't like you get a pair of gauntlets or you try on a set of gauntlets. Put your hand around a weapon. Have somebody else hit it. Bang on that bitch. Tell it that like you need to hit it. Make sure that you know that you're like comfortable with that level of like force that you're feeling. So what's the worst injury I've ever gotten? And I had my shoulder dislocated in Baden when I was in Prague in 2015. And then I had like consequently relocated it. Like guy fell down, yanked my arm out, twisted it around, and everything else like that. He fell on the ground because of another American. I was holding on to two guys with this arm. I just grabbed a hold of my side and fell on it, slammed it back into place. I haven't really had any major issues with it. It's also my left arm, so it's not really a whole like huge amount of deal. So that's probably the worst injury I've gotten. I've had my nose broken a couple times. I had a big old split on my side. But that really wasn't that bad. It didn't stop me from doing stuff. I mean, crap. The next weekend, I went to a rattan fighting event in the snow, and I beat the ever-living crap out of some people. It was hilariously fun. So, like, injuries are supposed. I mean, the worst injury I've ever gotten is probably the arm dislocation. I've seen heads get cut open and split. Simon had a crack in the skull. I've seen broken fingers. I've seen broken legs, knees completely discombobulated, stuff like that. Not even really from blows. It's usually from falling down. Falling down is like the most dangerous thing you can do in sport, which is great, but at the same time, scary because we all do it. So that's kind of that's the worst kinds of injuries I've gotten. So Brigandine versus plate cuirass. Seems like a lot of people wear the Brigandine, and I'm curious if it's just because it's cheaper. Is there a different advantage that I haven't heard before? Yeah, it's primarily because Brigandine is easier to make, which makes it cheaper. They move around real well. You've got mobility. You've got good protection for the amount of level that you want. You will feel stuff because it's a bunch of little plates inside underneath the casing. It's easy to fix though, because all you have to do is cut out rivets and usually like patched up, and that's about it. Cuirasses are lighter because they don't have as much like riveting and materials added into them. Usually, gaps are seemingly more obvious with plate, just because there's such a sudden like stop, like a stop here and whatever else like that. But at the same time, if you got good shoulders and everything like that, most plate situations like cuirasses and stuff you're going to wear, the style of shoulders and everything like that go with them work to deal with those kinds of gaps and everything else like that. Cuirasses are harder to make because they're usually custom made to you. You want them to end in the correct spot so they don't like ride on your hip bones or anything else like that. You want to make sure it fits you correct because you don't want it to be holding you back from fighting. The coats of plates are the Brigandine. It's easier to make, it's cheaper, and it fits more people. You don't have to custom make those stinking things. You can make a vest and go, hey, this fits a guy from this size to this size, and this one fits a guy from this size to this side. Like that's the whole idea between cuirasses and Brigandine. So you actually don't feel much. Like you're not really going to feel much in plate kit. Like if anything, at least body and shoulders and stuff like that, you're going to feel like the weight of it, but you're not going to really feel like the chop of it unless they hit you in a gap. Brigandine, you'll feel it if they hit you the right way. You'll get a lot more than just a weight push. So that's kind of the idea. What sort of mid-piece do you use? Cuirass, Brigandine, or so on? I use a coat of plates currently. There's also the Russian small plate kit, which is actually like it's more like lamellar than anything else. I don't like fighting in that small plate stuff because it doesn't take axe blows very well. It actually, like, I felt every bit of Simon's axe blows into my back. It's very real. So
I wear a coat of plates. I'm going to a more, we call it a demi cuirass. It's got big plates up in the chest. The back plates are big. It's got smaller plates down on the bottom, so I have mobility and everything else like that, and being able to have flexibility in there. So that's what I wear for the Brigandine. I also wear a skirt that goes over top my hips and my butt because those are hard to armor, and I'm like, extra stuff's extra stuff. It's a good place to have it. So that's kind of where I run. I'm doing a shift in kit, going to a more Western style kit. I'm still going to have all the Eastern stuff. I'm still going to fight in it and everything else like that. But if I'm going to go and do sports stuff, I'm going to get a sports optimized helmet. So I just like seeing and breathing, apparently. So that's kind of a thing. How loud is it in a fight? Your heartbeat in your ears, your breathing into a helmet. It's all reverberating back at you because you were in this helmet. You're moving, you're fighting, you're getting hit, you are slamming into people, people are slamming into you. It's loud. And it's also silent. There are moments where noise is nothing. It's that moment of like, this man's trying to hurt me. No. In your mind, you can hear it go, no. And then you immediately start throwing people around. God damn it. I just noticed something. I was looking for a can of spray glue all day, and I just looked across my garage, and I see it sitting on a goddamn. So, organization, brain, physical, whatever, all of it needs to be worked on. Gotta love the pandemic. Actually, it wouldn't have changed so much. And the smell of ozone. As soon as I smell ozone, I'm like, okay, it's time to really do things because somebody's either hit me or hit somebody near me, and I need to go deal with it. That's kind of how I react to the smell of ozone. How can you gain weight when wanting to fit into the armor, like muscle-wise gain of weight? So here's the thing about gaining weight. The only the biggest thing that's really going to change, like if you're trying to gain weight and everything else, you're gaining weight and you're changing your physicality while you have armor and everything like that. The worst thing that's going to change is you are going to get smaller because as you build more muscle, like the weight of muscle compared to fat, we all know this thing that muscle actually weighs more than fat does, and that's because of spatial wise. Muscle fiber is more dense than fat. More fat is more water. It's not water. I'm fucking stupid. It's bigger. And it takes up more space. And it doesn't weigh as nearly as much as a compact piece of muscle tissue. So if you're gaining muscle, you're actually not going to get you're not going to gain 2 inches on your biceps, in a small amount of period of time where you're not noticing it. And then at that point, if you've jacked yourself up that that quickly and that fast, and you don't really notice it, lay off, take it easy and be safe. But also at the same time, loosen up some straps, see what you can figure out. That's kind of what you have to do, and make sure you put on your armor. If you're going through if you're doing a heavy workout routine, trying to burn away all this extra stuff and try and get yourself situated before you buy armor. Buy your gambeson. Gambesons always can be tied closer. But if you're gonna really change your body makeup, if you're really gonna change your geometry so much, wait to buy armor. Do that process and drive yourself through that process of bettering yourself and putting yourself in a better shape, and then buy the armor is a treat to yourself. I'm gonna buy this armor now. I'm now in the jacked up shape that I want to be to fight. I'm gonna go do the thing. So sparks off my helmet. Yeah, I love sparks. What other sports do you enjoy playing? I've spent a lot of time playing all kinds of different stuff. Sports, like ball sports. I like bocce ball.
No, I like throwing. I like going around kicking a soccer ball around. I like playing basketball. I'm not good at playing basketball as much as like you'd think a tall person would be good at it. Never played it in high school or anything else like that. The other sports I play, I rattan fight and I foam fight. Like if you want to call those sports or whatever it is. So like that's kind of that's my sports. I don't even watch mainstream sports anymore. I don't watch football or anything else like that. I watch MMA. That's about it. I don't like playing MMA. Oh God, who plays MMA? I do, but whatever. Well, Victor, thanks for kicking it. Is it more intense to get in a fight in a brawl with a bunch of people or in a 1v1 in a knife fight? Intensity, yes. Like being able to like having multiple people like hitting you and attacking you and everything else like that, being outnumbered is more intense. Just because of the cacophony of crap going on. Intensity, as in like where this is going to sound stupid, where you can lay the blame at. That's not really the best way of putting it, but like accountability. There we go. The accountability in a team sport. Yes, you put some onus on yourself, but you put more of the onus is able to be put onto the team. You're be able to spread the blame around on the team. In a 1v1, it is much more personal, is much more in your own head. And that level of intensity and like you don't, it's not necessarily emotion, but you know that it's your problem. Like this is your situation. There's no one else here. It's just you and that other dude. And that's kind of how it is. So like that level of intensity is kind of like where I'd see it as like a one-on-one would be a lot more intense than a melee. Also, melee is just end to when the last guy falls down. So you could be fighting for 30 seconds. You could be fighting 10 seconds. You could be fighting for 2 minutes, but you're not like fighting the whole time. You're usually like holding on to a dude and waiting for somebody to come help you or something stupid like that. In a 1v1 fight, depends on if you're doing 1 minute rounds, 2 minute rounds, 3 minute rounds, 5 minute rounds. That's you. That's you fighting. And you can't really just sit there on a rail and breathe. He's going to keep hitting you and keep making points. Singles fights are usually based upon points and being able to like score as many good blows, punches, shield edges, everything else like that. Like that's more so for singles fighting is a lot more endurance based and more tiring than anything else. So that's kind of where that is. Got anything coming up for the channel? Any news on the shield design? I'm still like I have all of the I'm covering the shield tonight with canvas. It's already got bolts and straps in it. I mean, shit. There you go. Ooh, that's the shape we're going with. That's what we got. Nice little coffin shield puncher. I cover that tonight with canvas, and we go from there. I've got a full paint situation figured out with sealant and everything. Design, we might be going with a pick like one of my face plate, or we're going with Rexy, one of the two. And I think it's going to be Rexy, probably with some chunks of steel hanging off or something like that. The only problem I seem to have found out is like, what if a lefty gets a hold of the shield? So like, because I'm painted for a righty to have it. It's gonna be left arm. It's gonna be facing up and down on this one. It's either that, or I'm just gonna like I'll put a single design on it. That'll be we'll figure it out. I might do some doodles tonight. Later on this evening, I'll post them up. We'll see what we get. Start a team with the ACL or the ACW. You have to have a minimum of 3 people, but do you also have to have a list to invite people to fight, or could you hypothetically travel to other teams to start? If you're starting up a situation, no league should expect you to have a list. No league should expect you to have a situation figured out for a list already. That would be ridiculous. If you're starting with 3 people, if you're just meeting each other's houses and like going in and hanging out in a shop or something like that, you're working in someone's backyard, or you're going to some gym and you're renting out a room in the back end for an hour or two every week, like nobody's going to expect you to have a list. Lists can be built, lists can be bought. We use cattle rails here in the States a lot just because they're easy to move. They're not as heavy as one would think. And they're pretty durable. They're pretty tough. So like you definitely travel to other places and go fight. That's how you kind of like get better at fighting, is going and fighting more. So traveling is a major thing. Me and a bunch of the guys out of the DC region, we did a lot of traveling in our first couple of years, and we went to a lot of places. We fought just about everywhere we possibly could. It was a much smaller situation, so you actually had to travel like 6 hours at a time to go see people and fight. Right now, I think I've got 4 teams within a 2-hour drive of me right now, and that's pretty awesome. So, and we have a list here. They have a list. They all have lists, so we're able to get a hold of each other and go to things. Why, in my opinion, is armored combat so fun? Grant, that's a great question. Violence. I like being able to wear armor. I like being able to be violent and not exactly have to worry about a broken facial region afterwards. That was one of the reasons why I didn't like pursue MMA. It was a real thought process there for a hot minute, and I was like, no, that's gonna break my body, and I'm gonna be like a retired 40-year-old that's got the body of an 80-year-old, and a face made a hamburger. And this thing's already working like uphill to begin with, so it doesn't really need to have more thrown at it. I like being able to get into a violent scuffle and be like ultra violent. Like I'm hitting people as hard as possible. Like I'm like not holding back, which is kind of nifty because I hold back in all of the other sports that I go and swing sticks at. I definitely trim myself and I try to be better about like those are more about hitting like stick tag kind of thing, which you're allowed to be. You're able to be a lot more lighter if you get good angles and you do it right. So that's kind of where my thought process is. And what my like why is it so fun is just because I can be that highest level of violence. And I enjoy having that separation and being like not having to be as like mean at other places when I go and fight people with other sports than I do have to do in steel fighting. So pretty skinny bastard, 130 pounds. It's a good weight to be at. Is not tossed around like a meat sack. Dr. Cobley. Doctor. What you do is don't get grabbed up. Stay away from people. Escape. Stay fast. 130 pounds, put on 20 pounds. Like at 130 pounds, depends on how tall you are. That's kind of a thing. But at 130 pounds, it's pretty light. Like that's kind of like flour, the sacks of flour at that point in time. But still doable. Just be fast and stay away from people. It's a fairly straightforward situation. Put on 20 pounds. Do it. You're never gonna know unless you do it. Do I still do any retain fighting, or I just do steel full time these days? No, I definitely go and retain fight. I have tons of fun retain fighting. Hanging out with the two chucks, being a two chuck, like running amok, going and heckling people. It's the best time. Steel fighting is a very good time. I love my family in steel fighting. And I have it's great dog. But I was two chuck first, and rattan fighting is not nearly as like heavy on the body. I'm not wearing as heavy armor. I'm not I'm not trying to fight for steel fighting. I'll get like a max of an hour's worth, like an hour of condensed fighting. Like all of my fighting is stuck together after one whole day of steel fighting, like over an 8-hour period of time. It's only an hour. I go to a rattan fighting event. I go and fight for 3 hours straight. Like I might take a half-hour break in there, like in the middle, but then I'm gonna go fight for another 2 hours, and that's like no joke. I like being able to like kill 8 dudes at the same time. Like I sit there with a spear and just go blop 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 blop. Like it's really fun to work on precision, like laser beaming people to death. I enjoy that. It's a fun time. Yeah, El Fleche is pretty small. He's actually a fairly small guy. Damien Austin isn't nearly as effective because he doesn't use. He just runs around and bounces off of people. He doesn't like lariat people all that much. At least from what I've seen lately of him. Best wood for two-handed axe hafts and where to get it. Hickory. I'll tell you right now, this is built on a full wood matic handle. Actually, 2 seconds. I might still have one. That is a matic handle. Like, you see how it is? See how this head is? Oh. I bought this from a Lowe's. Matic handles are great because they're built to take beatings. Like the tools that are mounted on these things, matics and hose and all that kind of stuff, and picks, they are about brute force, and that's what axes are about brute force. They're tough as all hell. They're like, I think this is the right length. You can get longer handles, post hole digger handles from Lowe's. See if you can find one. Try and find something that doesn't have a lot of little knots in it. Try and find something with long unbroken situations, because knots, even though they are harder, they make a break in the fiber of the actual handle, which actually makes more of a breaking point and more of like a density point. So it'll actually break there worse. So two-handed axle, postal digger shafts, wheelbarrow handles. Get wood ones. Don't use metal handles. Not good for you. There we go. Favorite single fighting event? Single fighting event? You mean like fighting one dude at a time, or like one over all of them? So, what's the worst weapon for a beginner? A 6-foot-long poleaxe. Don't pick up anything over 5 foot long if you're a new guy. Don't pick up anything 4 foot long if you're a new guy, because you're just going to lose it. You're not going to be effective with it. You're going to get tangled up with it, and you're actually going to go down worse trying to use that long ass weapon than you would trying to use a shorter axe. Like, you see how long this thing is, right? Like, that's the situation. You're not going to get any more force out of a long axe because you're not going to be able to swing it well. Not really like the best play for you. 1v1, my favorite single fighting event. I like doing sword and buckler tournaments. Like we do them at most national events. We have like a sword and buckler tournament that we do. I enjoy doing that a lot for steel. I've been in a couple of night fights. I've done a couple like singles tournaments and stuff like that. I prefer sword and buckler. I also enjoy longsword. Longsword's fine. I got one of these. I got a longsword. I'll fight you. It's a good thing. That's a callback if you don't know. I'm not gonna fall down because I'm ridiculous. Ugh. Life. So is building or smithing your own kit seen as lower class, or is this community pretty open to it? Okay. So they're not going to give you crap if you make your own armor. They're not. I made my first kit. I still wear chunks of it. I still wear my shins and my knees and everything else like that. I made all that stuff. I still wear, like, my legs are actually the first iteration that I made, and I still wear them. Nobody's going to give you crap about it if you go with the correct kind of thing. If you're using stainless steel, don't try not to make it out of mild. Mild is terrible. It's going to be too heavy. It's not going to be tough enough, and you're just going to be remaking shit all the time. Making your own pieces is actually pretty common, just because that is what it is. I don't think anybody's really making. I don't think anybody's making kits right now. Wouldn't be the worst idea. I've thought about it a couple of times. Just having you do all the riveting work, but you're still going to probably pay like for them to just like put it together for you. Will probably cost just as much as the amount of time you're going to put into it. So, thought processes. Hey, Brennan, good point there. Check out the link tree from my Facebook, my Instagram, and my. We're actually doing an end run on the t-shirt design that we currently have. Picked them up, I think today, like either today or tomorrow, is the cutoff for Printful saying that they'll have the stuff out before Christmas. So it's a good Christmas gift. In the next week or so, I'll be announcing the new t-shirt design and a couple different things that we've got going on. So there's that. We've got the Shield giveaway going on the 12th. I might be doing that from a remote location. Might be doing that giveaway from a remote location. But we'll all have a good time doing it. There's also a Venmo link if you want to send me stuff, because I'm always like trying to find new things to make the quality better for the channel, and doing different things for you guys, putting out more giveaways and doing all kinds of kooky goofy stuff. 5'2", like 5'5", like go get a Matic candle. Go buy a Matic candle from Lowe's and go start beating up stuff. Go beating up a tire, beating up a tree, like start building on the skills and everything else like that now. If you're still growing, it's the time to build muscles, the time to do stuff. Stay safe. Like, ask questions of people that are more professional than you, that know about lifting and know about building like muscle and doing all of the training stuff, just so you don't train yourself, don't build yourself the wrong way, and you actually hurt yourself in the long run. So just the thought process. Bard Michael Kelly. Ever meet any fighters that use skill learn from HEMA to their advantage? Yes. I do it. I know a couple of HEMA people that do stuff, and I talk with them. What's going on, Fox? Like, HEMA is a great place to learn stuff. They're really good for like setting your feet and doing different footwork. Like, a lot of my footwork's actually built out of German longsword stuff, which is taught in most HEMA classes, just because that is what it is. Not exactly the best. Like, HEMA training is good, but it is not what we are doing. So that's kind of where that kind of falls. But any kind of sword fighting is great. Whatever you bring to the table is whatever you can bring to the table, and if you can bring something different than everybody else is doing, then that means you're gonna you use it to the advantage. Like, anything that people don't use normally, it's gonna be used to your advantage anyways. Going through some stuff. How to build a pad. There you go. Yeah. We're gonna go and talk about some foam fighting stuff. I love foam fighting. Yes, I did start, somebody asked me about how I started into steel fighting and everything else like that. I'll give you the quick rundown. Started DAG in college. I went through a really bad breakup. Got a bunch of buddies that told me, like, hey, why don't you go try this thing out? So I went and tried that thing out. Got really involved with it. Started it, and did Dagger here for a good couple of years. Then one of my buddies was like, hey, you should meet these guys. They're two Chucks. So I met the two Chucks and everything else like that, hanging out with them dudes, and like beating the ever living crap out of some people. And then one of my buddies came up to me, Andrew. He's like, hey, you want to come to this practice? We're doing a steel fighting thing. So I went and checked that out. A guy named Zork got hurt. Walked over to me. He's like, I'm going to make your day. You want to get in there and fight? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to fight. So he measured up our hips, and he's like, yeah, you'll fit. Put me in his gear. Went and kicked the crap out of people, and I've been sold ever since. Just that level of violence that I'm able to have there, and that level of aggression that's allowed to be there is a lovely place to have it. So yeah, I started out in DAG. So that's kind of where that's where I fell in that. Currently operating in the U.S., which there seems to be a few different leagues operating in the U.S. Which league should a new team try to get involved with, and why? That's to taste. Okay, they all have their pluses and minuses. AMCF's doing great stuff. They're putting together Clemson. They're doing Carolina Carnage. ACS is a major proponent. They do all kinds of different events. ACW does events. They're a little bit more spread out, and they're a little bit they don't like hanging out with everybody. Everybody else is pretty cool with hanging out with everybody and going and fighting at everybody's events. So that's kind of a thing. I'm a member of most of them, to my knowledge, just because I want to fight it everywhere and I want to fight everyone. So that's kind of my thought process. Check out the different people and talk to the leaders before you sign anything. Ask all the questions you humanly can. Ask for contracts so you can read them. Don't sign them yet. Read them. Have somebody else read them. Have somebody else read them. If anybody asks you to sign stuff away for your team or anything else like that, or asks for different things, ask them what they're going to do with the information, what they're going to do with that property. I don't like to say property because it's kind of just nebulous ideas, but ask questions. Don't let them just sell you down the road. And go into a business situation. Most of them are pretty good to deal with. They're not really all that bad. They're not really trying to screw you, but they're just read stuff. That's the most adult piece of information I could give you is read everything. Those contracts that seem really long and stupid, read all of it. Not a bad plan. My favorite century for armor, probably. Realistically, I like armor for the sake of armor. I do like 15th century stuff. I do like 16th century stuff just because plates and flutes and points and all that junk. It all looks really cool. It's kind of what my thought process is about, the quintessential knight back in the day. At the same time, I like Nightmare from Soul Calibur 2. I'm kind of a wackadoo there. So that's kind of I'll go with the 15th, 16th century kind of stuff. A little bit later in the transitional period, I do believe. I should deck out my armor in a Christmas theme. That could be fun. It could be. I don't know. I might do that. I might not. Do I go to Renaissance fairs in my armor? I don't go to Renaissance fairs in my armor all that often just because it's heavy. I'll go in chunks of it. So yeah, I've done them. I've gone in my kit. I've gone in my gear. I probably go to the Ren Fair twice a year, maybe that. Just because I don't drink, and that's primarily what you do at the Ren Fair is drink. So it's not nearly as fun as I'd like it to be. I go and enjoy myself and stuff, but that's about it. So yeah, Renaissance Fair is cool. In the ACL, who do you consider to be your rival? Who is Fox Nations? Because they really want to know. My rival? A rival? Everyone. I want to fight everyone. As hard as humanly possible. The amount of personal stuff and everything else like that involved. I don't have that's not in I do my best to be friends with just about everybody in every league. That is where I am, and that is where I'd like to be. I'd like to stay neutral with just about everybody because it's a sport competition and everything else like that. There's no crying in baseball. There's crying in baseball though. There's no crying in baseball. I try to be pretty level playing field and even keel with most people. I don't try to Bakujo vibes. Yeah, I watch anime, but that's real old school. I like that. That's not in my wheelhouse. So I'm ready. I'm ready to fight everybody. It's kind of my thought process. Everyone's my rival. I want to fight everyone. It's kind of the idea. How do you make it onto the national team to go overseas and fight the world? You fight. So now it's in different ways. You fight through a tournament with your 5-on-5 team. And you fight. Whoever gets first gets to go be the 5-on-5 team. Whoever gets second, I think the captain's allowed to be. I think the captain's allowed to pick being captain of the 10s or the 16-man teams. This is IMCF, by the way. They're allowed to pick either be the captain of the 10s or the captain of the 16s, and then third place. Then that captain becomes either the captain of whatever's left. That's kind of how, and then you pick. Basically, like be good at fighting, have a really good showing, pick up your skills, be really aggressive, try to be as efficient as humanly possible. That's how you really get picked to go on a team. So that's kind of where that's how you really get to go overseas and fight. And be willing to go do it. That's the other thing. A lot of people they're like, yeah, I'd go overseas, be awesome, but I'm just not going to go do it. I'm like, sure, bud, whatever you want. You don't actually really want it. I do. I'm going to go. If I was ever to switch my armor style, which kit would I go with? There's it's an early 15th century German kit that I'm moving towards. I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember the battle it's from. CJ over at Ironcrad Metalworks is going to throw a brick at me because it's his kit, basically, but we're building it to be my size. So that's kind of like that. That's the direction I'm going into. We'll post up pictures and do more stuff about that later. So that's kind of that's the direction my armor is going into. What aesthetic would you say you go for? Mean, efficient, tough. There you go. I like shredded linen, and I don't know why. Are you a fan of Lord of the Rings? And if so, who is your favorite character? Yes, I am a major fan of Lord of the Rings. Out of the books, my favorite character is Tom Bombadil because he don't give a shit. In the movies, I enjoy Aragorn. Primarily because Viggo Mortensen did a great job. I also like Eomer. But books is Tom Bombadil. Books is also tribute because he's dope. So, Have I ever went up against Salt Lake City Crusaders? I don't think I fought against those guys. I've definitely fought against their regional team, though. Like whoever was on the regional team doing stuff, I've definitely fought against those guys. For you to get picked out of your team because you're just that good to join the national team, yes, that's kind of how it goes. They can pick anybody they want. Like the captains can, like the captains of whatever respective team can pick whoever they want to be on their team. It's just kind of how it is. The best weapon for me in the league, at 2-handed axe, my fists, body shit. Being able to brutalize people is probably the best weapon humanly possible. Wolf River and Hazel, yeah. Once you see the helmet I'm getting, you'll understand why I went to it. It's a lot more reasonable. So yeah, I'm still questionable about wolf ribs. Like wolf ribs, if anybody nobody knows, it's an up and down bar, but then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got these horizontal bars that go over the sides, and it is concerning. Like you're allowed to have one bar on either side for Battle of the Nations. Like everywhere else, you can put a couple extra in there, but so wolf ribs concern me. Just because, I've seen the video where I can't remember which Danish twin had it, but he had a falchion go beside his head and catch the corner of his eyeball. And I was like, oh no, buddy, don't let that happen to you. So I'm gonna get through these last couple, and then I'm gonna kick it off. It is a weekday. I'm gonna go and get a whole bunch of things done. So it's either that. I'll stick around for another 17 minutes. You said you like mittens. Why aren't digits that important in armored combat? So mittens, like mitten gauntlets and everything else like that, it's a solid plate over your fingers. Like there's a plate that goes all the way across that articulates with all these other plates. It's extremely protective. Your hands are really important. That's why I like mittens. Your hand is not trapped. It's not just trapped in those things. You can still do things inside the gauntlet on a sword edge. You can still do on a handle. You can still change your grip with your fingers and apply different pressure while you're in a mitten. It doesn't really change a whole lot. I don't like finger gauntlets because finger gauntlets it's just that little plate there. It's just that little plate there and there and there and there. Shit gets broken. If I see people wearing
finger gauntlets, I immediately walk over and go like, "Hey, find a rondelle, tape it to your fingers, put like something over top of your fingertips, where you're just gonna get your fingers broken. Unless you're doing singles fighting, and then I'm like, whatever, do whatever you want to do. Can't tell you. There you go. You have to be 18 at least to apply to be in the ACL. By the way, it's not the ACL anymore. It's ACS, ACW, AMCF, everything else like that. You're going to keep looking up Armored Combat League stuff. You're going to find old stuff on YouTube, but nothing's going to pop up on Facebook just because they dissolved that. So, would you tell folks to try buffer fighting before trying steel to know if they like pain, violence before the investment? So, I would not deny that at all. Like if you're dead set on getting into steel fighting, you want to fight with swords and axes, like, okay, like there's nothing that can talk you out of it. Usually I try to put somebody in a suit of armor at a practice before they go and like buy kit. I try to put somebody in a suit of armor that generally always fits them, make sure they're safe in it. But then we punch them a good couple times and we hit them with an axe a couple of times. Just so like, hey, this is what's going to happen. Like, this is what you're walking into. So don't let like I make sure that like they know what they're like getting into before like crap happens. So that said, like definitely try out some kind of fighting. Most of us use foam fighting as practice, anyways. So that's actually a pretty good starting point too. If you just want to go to a practice and use it as working out and just do the foam fighting stuff, that's perfectly fine, and do all the calisthenics and everything. Like that's cool. Do that. Stick fighting is also a great place to start it too. It's cheaper armor. It's easier to put on. It's lighter. Why do people pronounce El Fleche's name wrong? Is it a certain reason? As a Spanish speaker, it's supposed to be El Flecha. El Fleche. Am I saying it wrong? The Fleche? El Fleche? Is it El Flecha? Am I doing this wrong? Like opposed, not like left versus right, but like opposed. Only a like. Left versus right, but like opposed. There's only a. Sorry, guys. I'm reading and trying to understand what the heck you guys are talking about real quick. I'm trying to read through things. Yeah, man. You have a good night. So there's only like. Don't worry about that. Go out, enjoy yourself. Make this fun for you. Guess what? Any league that you join, they are the one making a product. You are paying for that product being a member of that fucking league. So don't let them try and browbeat you. Don't let them try and guilt you. Don't let them try and manipulate in one way, shape, or form. You tell them that you're the customer. And don't try and be like demanding crap of them, because they are they're doing this. Most of them aren't taking a paycheck out of this stuff, so they're mostly doing this for like volunteer stuff. They have other jobs. They have other work to do. Like nobody's collecting a serious paycheck out of this stuff. So make sure that they understand that you are not a pushover. Also work with them. And don't like just try to rustle their jimmies for the sake of rustling their jimmies. I haven't had any problems with most of the leagues with that kind of stuff. Like ACS is pretty open, AMCS is pretty open, ACW's got has their own problems, whatever you want to call it. Check around, see what's going on. Check in with people. I like people that are objective. I like people that are very neutral, middle of the road. That they'll they want to hit everybody. That's what I want to do. I want to hit everyone. I don't want to play this like, oh, I've got my ball over here in my court. You can stay the fuck off of it. You can eat a dick. We're all doing the same sport. If you want to do a different sport, go do a different sport. But like, if you don't want to come and play with us, then don't bitch and moan because your pie is shitty. You're not using all the ingredients at fucking hand. I'm right. If you're not in the graces of me, do whatever. How strategic do the bigger fights get, like 150 versus 150? Yeah, man.
Doctor, you be easy. Have a good night. Yeah, I see what you did there, fellow. How strategic do bigger fights get? 150 on 150? I've seen it. It's pretty strategic. It is kind of like a push and push and push until you like push guys into the meat grinder until the meat grinder like finally breaks. I think bigger fights like 10 on 10s and 21 on 21s are more strategic than 5 on 5s. I think they have a lot more. I think they have a lot more dynamics to them because you can still come back from an 8 on 10. You can still come back from a 7 on 10. It's a lot harder to come back from a 4 on 5. As ridiculous as that sound, one guy difference. It's kind of a ridiculous kind of a thing. Show off my new equipment for those who are watching. If I were not in armored combat, where would I be right now? I don't know. I'd probably be healthier. That's like, I don't know. That's a real solid question. I don't know exactly where I'd be without fighting, without armored combat. I'd probably be doing a lot more stick fighting. That's about it. Hey man, don't think that you can't do it at 150. 150 is not going to stop you. Just stay quick and do the thing. Hey, Maryland. I'm definitely here in the land of comfort living. Good times. Oh yeah, new gear. We've got this. We've got a Rode mic. This is actually, I could be using this mic right now, but I figured out it had some background feed to it, so I'm guessing I need to get something that goes on the end of this bit. But that's a good shotgun mic. We've got that. I don't know if anybody that's still watching knows anything about cameras in any way, shape, or form. We've got this crazy Hindinger. This is a Canon Rebel EOS Rebel T7i. It's actually a pretty nice camera. It does some really cool stuff. I'm waiting on SD cards to come in so I can actually do filming with it because potato quality, top end quality. It's also got all kinds of little gym jammers. Where's that big old buddy? Because sometimes you just have to go and get the Magnum. Came with one of these big old gym jams. I mean, how can you not enjoy that thing? Look at this thing. Look at it. Ooh, nimby dibby. We caught this thing as steel, but you can look around. You can definitely look around and find some pretty decent cameras floating around, man. For not really expensive. I mean, we caught this for a couple $100 cheaper than what it would be. So, just the thought process. Oh, now I know who Matthew Perkins is. What's going on, Feld? It took me a minute, man. I was like, who the fuck is this? Dog. Whichever two Chuck you are. I'll figure it out later. Thank you for that suggestion, Matt. You definitely hit the nail on the head. It's actually pretty cool. I'm just a big derp. Yes, Feld approved, definitely. So that do you happen to be into video games? I mean, not really. I play Age of Empires 2, Skyrim. I think I've got Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator on my computer. So yeah, man. Seeing you and all the U.S. guys on TV from Canada made me want to take this up. It's definitely a good time. And there's 12 teams in Canada, apparently. There's a ridiculous amount of dudes doing steel fight in Canada. And I can't wait to fight all those fucking Canucks. Because they deserve it. Hats get beat up. No, there's we're gonna be putting out more information. We've got all kinds of different stuff coming down the pipeline. I have to do I'm prepped to do all the shield stuff. We're doing that in the next week. I've got foam sitting around. I need to get more glue because I need to show how to make a foam fighting axe. I think in the next couple weeks I'm going to be putting out some videos talking about building like a foam fighting gear to try and do stuff. No, definitely, Jacob. You guys are trying to start a thing down in Louisiana. That's good times. Can't argue with you. Check in with Micah Nelson. He's actually down there he's on the really left side of Florida. He might be within like reasonable distance of you guys. Wouldn't be the worst thing. Man, maybe I'm thinking about a state over. I don't know. Down in the south. What made you come up with the name of the Barbarian? They came up with it at the show, and it kind of just made sense. I was walking around with a giant fur thing that punched people out. Like, how are you not the Barbarian? When you do tournaments in the USA, do you have to have matching armor, or is it just whatever's most protection? So in the US, it's a little bit more like, if you're not planning on going over to, like, if you're not going over to Europe, you're in pretty good shape to fight in just about what you can. Make sure it's safe. Make sure you have a full kit, that kind of thing. If you're going overseas, you have to worry about documentation and everything else like that. I'm not supporting the idea of everybody going and getting whatever armor you humanly can just because you're going to fight in the States. Get good-looking stuff. Get well-made stuff. Don't skimp on stuff that's going to save your fucking life. That's just the long and short of it at that point in time. So I'm definitely going to Carolina Carnage. I will be there fighting. I will either be with the Wheel of Pain, or I will be there with the Baltimore Hawks. One of the two. Where's my gym for this, or place of your operations? I am based out of Westminster, Maryland. The gym in Westminster, you look it up on Facebook. It's right there, the gym in Westminster. So that's kind of how that is. That's where I'm going to be doing the classes at for Night Fit. And that's where I'm going to be doing all of my training anyways, because it's the gym I go to. It's actually my brother-in-law's gym, so it's fairly decent place to go work out at. And he's a really good trainer. So, Drew, Brandon, you make good points. If anybody wants to collaborate, do some funky stuff, we'll do some funky stuff. It's always a good time. Yeah, definitely. I'm down to go down and teach classes and stuff like that, and show you guys the ideas and what we need to be doing. Should I pad my helmet to a football standard? This is the last question I'm going to answer, because this is actually a difficult one to answer. So when you're padding a helmet, you have what's the easiest way for me to describe this? I have many helmets. So you see how this is, right? This cloth padding is actually sewn all the way around here. It's sewn all the way around here, to my knowledge. Yes, it's sewn all the way around in the back. So that is actually sewn in there, so it holds it off your head. And then you've put foam up in here around the top and around the top of the helmet. This should not be like sitting on your helmet. You do not need to build up like layers of layers of foam to get to your head. You don't want to do that. You want to have room between the two, because you want that that sewn in liner to take up the blow. And you don't want it just like, because that's really going to transfer all of it into your head. No matter how much foam you're going to put in there, you're going to feel a lot more than you do having it be like floating above your head. Check out helmet suspension. Look at a hard hat. That's kind of the idea. It's kind of what you're looking at. Hard hats actually hold it off of your head and everything else like that. So that's what I'd suggest. On a scale of 1 to 10, how tempted are you to shave your beard? Not at fucking all. I like the beard. It's good. I look goofy without a beard. Do you have any kind of neck protection, like crush protection for the spine, or is it just having the suspension system enough? I mean, it's not. Just having I mean, like, the helmet's going to take most of the force. It's going to take most of the force anyways. Crush, like, you have to really get hit to really get your spine compacted, kind of thing. I get you. You notice everything about all these helmets, right? Like, hey, look at that profile. I grab another helmet. Look at that profile. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no! Look at the profile. Look at the profile. Oh, can I get to the last one? No. Look at the profile. Top blows aren't actually going to crush your head. It's not going to crush your neck. Actually, the hardest way, like the easiest way for you to crush your neck is probably going to be falling straight on your head, and somebody's going to have to be holding you upside down to do it. I want to thank everybody for coming out to the. None of these are my only this one's my helmet. The rest are actually like either ones that I have to fix or ones that are just hanging out in my shop because I grabbed them from the practice. You all have a great night. Thank you all for coming out and hanging out with me on the live channel, on the live chat. Keep your eyes on stuff. We're gonna have a lot of different things going out onto the channel because I can't talk right now. We got the Shield giveaway happening in the next 2 weeks. We're gonna be doing that. And keep your eyes peeled. Go check out the links in that Brennan's put up in the chat. My link tree's there. It's got all the different links for t-shirts, my Venmo, everything else like that. Y'all have a good night. Be safe. Talk to y'all later. Whenever I can figure this out. There we go.